Welcome to the Book of Judges, a powerful account of Israel's early struggles, victories, and cycles of faith and failure. In chapters 1 to 3, we see the nation after Joshua's death. Although some tribes conquer parts of the land, many fail to drive out the enemy completely. This leads to compromise and spiritual decline. Even in their disobedience, God raises up deliverers, judges like Othniel, Ehud, and Shamgar, to save his people and call them back to righteousness. These early chapters show us that obedience brings victory, and turning from God invites chaos. Israel fights the remaining Canaanites. 1. After the death of Joshua, the Israelites ask the Lord, "Who of us is to go up first to fight against the Canaanites?" 2. The Lord answered, "Judah shall go up. I have given the land into their hands." 3. The men of Judah then said to the Simeonites, their fellow Israelites, "Come up with us into the territory allotted to us to fight against the Canaanites. We in turn will go with you into yours." So the Simeonites went with them. 4. When Judah attacked, the Lord gave the Canaanites and Perizzites into their hands, and they struck down 10,000 men at Bezek. 5. It was there that they found Adoni-Bezek and fought against him, putting to rout the Canaanites and Perizzites. 6. Adoni-Bezek fled, but they chased him and caught him, and cut off his thumbs and big toes. 7. Then Adoni-Bezek said, 70 kings with their thumbs and big toes cut off have picked up scraps under my table. Now God has paid me back for what I did to them. They brought him to Jerusalem, and he died there. 8. The men of Judah attacked Jerusalem also and took it. They put the city to the sword and set it on fire. 9. After that, Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites living in the hill country, the Negev, and the western foothills. 10. They advanced against the Canaanites living in Hebron, formerly called Kiriath Arba, and defeated Sheshai, Ahiman, and Talmai. 11. From there they advanced against the people living in Debir, formerly called Kiriath Sefer. 12. And Caleb said, "I will give my daughter Achsah in marriage to the man who attacks and captures Kiriath Sefer." 13. Othniel son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, took it. So Caleb gave his daughter Achsah to him in marriage. 14. One day when she came to Othniel, she urged him to ask her father for a field. When she got off her donkey, Caleb asked her, "What can I do for you?" 15. She replied, "Do me a special favor. Since you have given me land in the Negev, give me also springs of water." So Caleb gave her the upper and lower springs. 16. The descendants of Moses' father-in-law, the Kenite, went up from the city of palms with the people of Judah to live among the inhabitants of the desert of Judah in the Negev near Arad. 17. Then the men of Judah went with the Simeonites, their fellow Israelites, and attacked the Canaanites living in Zephath, and they totally destroyed the city. Therefore it was called Hormah. 18. Judah also took Gaza, Ashkelon, and Ekron, each city with its territory. 19. The Lord was with the men of Judah. They took possession of the hill country, but they were 22. Now the tribes of Joseph attacked Bethel, and the Lord was with them. 23. When they sent men to spy out Bethel, formerly called Luz. 24. The spies saw a man coming out of the city, and they said to him, "Show us how to get into the city, and we will see that you are treated well." 25. So he showed them, and they put the city to the sword, but spared the man and his whole family. 26. He then went to the land of the Hittites, where he built a city and called it Luz, which is its name to this day. 27. But Manasseh did not drive out the people of Beth-shan, or Tarnok, or Dor, or Ibleam, or Megiddo, and their surrounding settlements, for the Canaanites were determined to live in that land. 28. When Israel became strong, they pressed the Canaanites into forced labor, but never drove them out completely. 29. Nor did Ephraim drive out the Canaanites living in Gezer, but the Canaanites continued to live there among them. 30. Neither did Zebulun drive out the Canaanites living in Kitron or Nahalol. So these Canaanites lived among them, but Zebulun did subject them to forced labor. 31. Nor did Asher drive out those living in Akko or Sidon or Alab or Akzib or Helbar or Aphek or Rehob. 32. The Asherites lived among the Canaanite inhabitants of the land because they did not drive them out. 33. Neither did Naphtali drive out those living in Beth Shemesh or Beth Anath, but the Naphtalites too lived among the Canaanite inhabitants of the land, and those living in Beth Shemesh and Beth Anath became forced laborers for them. 34. The Amorites confined the Danites to the hill country, not allowing them to come down into the plain. 35. And the Amorites were determined also to hold out in Mount Heres, Aijalon, and Shaalbim. But when the power of the tribes of Joseph increased, they too were pressed into forced labor. 36. The boundary of the Amorites was from Scorpion Pass to Selah and beyond. The angel of the Lord at Bochim 2. The angel of the Lord went up from Gilgal to Bochim and said, I brought you up out of Egypt, and led you into the land I swore to give to your ancestors. I said, I will never break my covenant with you, and you shall not make a covenant with the people of this land, but you shall break down their altars. Yet you have disobeyed me. Why have you done this? And I have also said, I will not drive them out before you. They will become traps for you, and their gods will become snares to you. When the angel of the Lord had spoken these things to all the Israelites, the people wept aloud, and they called that place Bochim. There they offered sacrifices to the Lord, disobedience and defeat. After Joshua had dismissed the Israelites, they went to take possession of the land, each to their own inheritance. The people served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua and of the elders who outlived him and who had seen all the great things the Lord had done for Israel. Joshua, son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110, and they buried him in the land of his inheritance at Timnath-Heres, in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gash. After that whole generation had been gathered to their ancestors, another generation grew up who knew neither the Lord nor what he had done for Israel. Then the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord and served the Baals. They forsook the Lord, the God of their ancestors, who had brought them out of Egypt. They followed and worshipped various gods of the peoples around them. They aroused the Lord's anger because they forsook him and served Baal and the Ashtoreths. In his anger against Israel, the Lord gave them into the hands of raiders who plundered them. He sold them into the hands of their enemies all around, whom they were no longer able to resist. Whenever Israel went out to fight, the hand of the Lord was against them to defeat them, just as he had sworn to them. They were in great distress. Then the Lord raised up judges, who saved them out of the hands of these raiders. Yet they would not listen to their judges, but prostituted themselves to other gods and worshipped them. They quickly turned from the ways of their ancestors, who had been obedient to the Lord's commands. Whenever the Lord raised up a judge for them, he was with the judge and saved them out of the hands of their enemies, as long as the judge lived. For the Lord relented because of their groaning under those who oppressed and afflicted them. But when the judge died, the people returned to ways even more corrupt than those of their ancestors, following other gods and serving and worshipping them. They refused to give up their evil practices and stubborn ways. 20. Therefore the Lord was very angry with Israel and said, Because this nation has violated the covenant I ordained for their ancestors and has not listened to me, 21, I will no longer drive out before them any of the nations Joshua left when he died. 22. I will use them to test Israel and see whether they will keep the way of the Lord and walk in it as their ancestors did. 23. The Lord had allowed those nations to remain. He did not drive them out at once by giving them into the hands of Joshua. 3. These are the nations the Lord left to test all those Israelites who had not experienced any of the wars in Canaan. 2. He did this only to teach warfare to the descendants of the Israelites who had not had previous battle experience. 3. The 5 rulers of the Philistines, all the Canaanites, the Sidonians, and the Hivites, living in the Lebanon mountains, from Mount Baal-Hermon to Lebo-Hamath. 4. They were left to test the Israelites to see whether they would obey the Lord's commands, which he had given their ancestors through Moses. 5. The Israelites lived among the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. 6. They took their daughters in marriage and gave their own daughters to their sons and served their gods. Othniel. 7. The Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. They forgot the Lord their God and served the Baals and the Asherahs. 8. The anger of the Lord burned against Israel, so that he sold them into the hands of Cushan-Rishathaim, king of Aram-Naharaim, to whom the Israelites were subject for 8 years. 9. But when they cried out to the Lord, he raised up for them a deliverer, Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, who saved them. 10. The Spirit of the Lord came on him, so that he became Israel's judge, and went to war. The Lord gave Cushan-Rishathaim, king of Aram, into the hands of Othniel, who overpowered him. 11. So the land had peace for 40 years, until Othniel, son of Kenaz, died. Ehud. 12. Again the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord, and because they did this evil the Lord gave Eglon, king of Moab, power over Israel. 13. Getting the Ammonites and Amalekites to join him, Eglon came and attacked Israel, and they took possession of the city of palms. 14. The Israelites were subject to Eglon, king of Moab, for 18 years. 15. Again the Israelites cried out to the Lord, and he gave them a deliverer, Ehud, a left-handed man, the son of Jerah the Benjamite. The Israelites sent him with tribute to Eglon, king of Moab. 16. Now Ehud had made a double-edged sword about a cubit long, which he strapped to his right thigh under his clothing. 17. He presented the tribute to Eglon, king of Moab, who was a very fat man. 18. 20. Ehud then approached him while he was sitting alone in the upper room of his palace, and said, "I have a message from God for you." As the king rose from his seat. 21. Ehud reached with his left hand, drew the sword from his right thigh, and plunged it into the king's belly. 22. Even the handle sank in after the blade, and his bowels discharged. Ehud did not pull the sword out, and the fat closed in over it. 23. Then Ehud went out to the porch. He shut the doors of the upper room behind him and locked them. 24. After he had gone, the servants came and found the doors of the upper room locked. They said, "He must be relieving himself in the inner room of the palace." 25. They waited to the point of embarrassment, but when he did not open the doors of the room, they took a key and unlocked them. There they saw their lord fallen to the floor, dead. 26. While they waited, Ehud got away. He passed by the stone images and escaped to Seirah. 27. When he arrived there, he blew a trumpet in the hill country of Ephraim, and the Israelites went down with him from the hills, with him leading them. 28. "Follow me," he ordered, "for the Lord has given Moab, your enemy, into your hands." So they followed him down and took possession of the fords of the Jordan that led to Moab. They allowed no one to cross over. 29. At that time they struck down about 10,000 Moabites, all vigorous and strong. Not one escaped. 30. That day Moab was made subject to Israel, and the land had peace for 80 years. The opening of Judges reminds us of the importance of complete faithfulness to God. Half-hearted obedience leads to bondage, but God's mercy never fails. He raises up leaders, even in times of darkness, to call his people back to truth. Let us learn from Israel's journey, choosing obedience over compromise and faith over fear. Subscribe, like and comment to follow more animated chapters from the Book of Judges.